Today, we're gonna take a look at the movie Something for the Boys from 1944. At first glance, this World War II time musical, which by the way has not aged that well, seems like an easy-to-forget, light-hearted silly piece, and the truth is, for the second time as well. It may be hard to believe, but in its time, Something for the Boys was made from highly successful material featuring superstars and was seen as a potential blockbuster with significant political goals. The play which the film is based on premiered on Broadway in 1943 and was an immediate success, mostly thanks to the catchy compositions of hitmaker Cole Porter and the juggernaut performance of Ethel Merman, the grande dame of the light genre. 20th Century Fox reserved filming rights even before the release, and later bought it for $265,000, according to some documents, and for $305,000, according to others. It was also agreed in the contract that the film could not be shown in cinemas before the summer of 1944. The reason was the same as with Hamilton a few years ago. The play's producers did not want the motion picture adaptation to prematurely take the wind out of the sails of the stage original. The Broadway production eventually ran for 422 performances, before the curtain stayed down in January 1944. According to the story, which can be considered charming or cheesy, depending on temperament, three cousins, the small-time crook/inventor Harry, played by Phil Silvers, singer-dancer Blossom, played by Vivian Blaine, and factory worker Chiquita, played by Carmen Miranda, receive news of a deceased uncle, from whom they inherited his magnificent property somewhere in the South. The palace, which they thought would be glamorous, soon turns out to be just a rickety pile of ruins, but with the help of a sergeant, played by Michael O'Shea, who is interested, both in the property and in Blossom, the idea is formulated to fix the house and rent it out to the wives of the training soldiers in a nearby camp. Unfortunately, no guests would enter the building as it is. Their big idea is hardly surprising in the genre. They want to raise the amount needed for the renovation with a large-scale show program. Even after reading this short summary, you can see why the play surely did not achieve its undoubted success with its story. The audience was mostly enthusiastic about the aforementioned Porter's tunes and Merman's charismatic stage presence. However, the film version omitted the inclusion of both. The music was completely changed except for the title song. The romantic part of the role of Blossom played by Merman was given to Vivian Blaine. The humorous part, like the fact that she can catch and transmit radio broadcasts with her teeth, was added to Chiquita's part to expand top star Carmen Miranda's playing time. Considering the stardom of Miranda, the samba queen of Portuguese origin, she was on the one hand a truly talented and charismatic performer, and on the other hand, she was in just the right place at the right time. The dancer-singer-actress, who lived in Brazil since her childhood, was releasing albums since 1929, and started regularly wearing her fruit basket hat, that became her trademark, 10 years later. The same year she received an invitation to a 2-month run of Broadway performances, which she first turned down after the producer refused to fly Miranda's own band to the U.S. Finally, Brazilian President Vargas offered to cover the band's travel expenses. Regarding the historical and political background that explains all this, President Roosevelt, in his concern that the fascist ideas spreading in Europe would infect the countries of South America that are home to many German and Italian immigrants, announced the Good Neighbor policy in 1933. As part of this, from 1940, an organization called the Office of Inter-American Affairs supervised, among other things, the improvement of the image of Americans in the southern part of the continent, and the appropriate representation of the peoples of South American countries in the United States mass culture. In this situation, a star of the caliber of Carmen Miranda could serve as an important cultural ambassador. Miranda took advantage of the opportunity, and at the time of Something for the Boys she was already considered a real superstar. She was the highest-paid film actress and the largest female taxpayer in the United States. Despite her fantastic energy, vocal abilities, and dancing skills, her very thick accent usually relegated her to supporting roles in Hollywood, so even though she has a lot of screen time in this particular film, she does not have a real main role. The greater part of her playing time is made up of musical scenes. Contemporary critics celebrated her in these roles as the greatest strength of her films, and the audience quickly fell in love with her. However, with the end of the war, the interest in Miranda and Latin America that she represented in the eyes of many Americans declined significantly, and soon she was only featured in small-scale productions. In this 1944 film, he brings the Carmen Miranda who is still at the peak of her game, and several up-and-coming young talents appear alongside her as reinforcements. Later Oscar winner Judy Holliday was so early in her career here that we can enjoy her presence for a total of 16 seconds. Rory Calhoun, who later became famous in Western films like River of No Return, 1954 by Otto Preminger, and Perry Como, already well known in the music industry, were introduced to the cinema audience in this very production. Como's acting debut, we can safely say, was very underwhelming. The hairdresser-turned-singer is really boring and stiff in the small role of the singin' soldier. He soon gave up filming, and later achieved great success on television. Phil Silvers, who plays the male cousin, was also considered to be a major figure on TV, whereas the original Sergeant Bilko from 1955 to 1959 he was a great success with the audience. In this rather loosely structured film, the story actually serves only one purpose: it holds together the numerous musical and dancing numbers, so Michael O'Shea and Vivian Blaine, who play the two lovers and have the largest non-musical roles, remain completely bland just like most of the movie. Apart from the spectacular, colorful musical numbers, and perhaps Miranda and Silver's raucous comedy scenes, there is not that much to remember.